Marcus Volke, 28, was found boiling his transgender lover on the stove. Before police could arrest him, he slit his own throat. This is 12-Minute True Crime. The transgender murder.
Queensland police are this morning trying to work out what led a Brisbane chef to murder his Indonesian wife.
Chapter 1. Meeting a Killer. Marcus Volke was born in Geelong. He had 3 siblings and had trained with his brother as a chef. Mayang Prasetyo was an Indonesian citizen. Marcus met Mayang in 2013 after he commenced working as a male escort within adult clubs in Melbourne. They'd married in Denmark on the 1st of August 2013. The pair had been travelling throughout Asia and Europe, working within the sex industry throughout 2013 and 2014. Marcus advertised through Rent Boys Australia in early 2014 and worked within both Queensland and his home state of Victoria. In 2014, he and Mayang returned from Bali to live in Brisbane. On the 6th of September 2014, Marcus and Mayang rented a place on Commercial Road in Tenerife, a cool suburb of Brisbane. It was a 1-bedroom ground floor apartment and it allowed pets. Marcus worked as a chef at a restaurant in Bulimba, a nearby suburb. Marcus was described by workmates as generally withdrawn. A school friend from his hometown said he was a little different. He was a good guy. He was a bit up and down. He could lose his temper like anyone, but for the most part, he was like everyone else. He was just one of the boys, he said. His close family had a different view of Marcus.
The ordinary's nothing like him at all. Just what we can't believe it's him.
He's such a happy, outgoing person, loved cooking, loved martial arts, everything like that, and for this to happen, it's, unreal.
Marcus's mum said she'd spoken with her son just a week before, and he seemed normal. He was happy, and he was coming home for Christmas. Everything was normal. He'd been on a ship, going from one country to another, his mum said, and they hadn't been in Brisbane for very long, only a few months. They were starting to get settled. Marcus's mum had no idea of his relationship status. On the other hand, Mayang charged between $200 to $500 for her services as an international escort. She would use the money to help put her older sister through school. Ads for her services read, "Better in real life. Pictures are always real. Real deal, pre-op, functional, hot TS. With a great, fit and hot body to enjoy." Another advertisement posted by Mayang while she was in London described her as busty and extra hot in bed, with a big banana. A former lover of Mayang said she was a true leader and a brave and courageous being. "I knew I'd met an awesome person and made a new friend that I would never wish to lose." Chapter 2. Problems. Late in the afternoon of the 2nd of October 2014, Marcus received a phone call at the unit from Mayang. Marcus was with a client in the unit. He then left the unit with his client as Mayang had called him to say she was on her way to the unit with a client of her own. After leaving the unit, he received a second call from Mayang. This time, she was screaming, and Marcus's client described the conversation as stilted and clinical. Marcus told the client, "I've got to go back. My flatmate wants me to help clean the dogs." He then left his client to return home. The client told police that he saw 5 small dogs within the unit. The dogs were kept in a small enclosure, and the unit smelled strongly because the dogs had soiled the carpet. Between 11:30 p.m. and midnight on the 2nd of October 2014, people in a neighbouring apartment overheard an argument coming from Marcus and Mayang's apartment. It lasted about 30 minutes, and it started to escalate to a point where Mayang was screaming. Marcus was seen to be sitting on the couch and staring straight ahead, not reacting to all the screaming that was going on. Mayang was heard to say things like, "Fuck you," and was calling Marcus stupid. Mayang was also saying things like, "I can't believe you." The argument then stopped suddenly. A neighbour awoke at 1:30 a.m. and could hear them arguing again. This time, it was not as loud, and Marcus's voice could not be heard at all. This argument lasted for about half an hour. The neighbour did not hear any further arguing occurring from the unit over the coming hours or days. Chapter 3. What's that smell? On the morning of the 3rd of October 2014, the unit manager started to smell something in the hall outside of their unit. She continued to walk past the unit over the course of the day to use the lifts and could tell that the smell was coming from Marcus and Mayang's unit. The smell was bad enough to require the use of air freshener in the hallway. At 6 p.m. that evening, Marcus was seen via CCTV attending a supermarket at Newstead and purchased, among other things, gloves, bleach, a scrubbing brush, garbage bags, wipes, and a laundry soaker. These items were later located inside Marcus's unit by police. Soon after this, Marcus called a taxi to the local hospital, the timestamp being recorded at 6:16 p.m. Marcus told the taxi driver that he had a cut on his hand, and the taxi driver observed him to be wrapping one of his fingers with a small piece of bloodied cloth. Marcus told the taxi driver he'd been cutting onions and the knife slipped. Early on October 4, 2014, the building manager saw Marcus outside the unit complex and noticed his bandaged hand. She'd also noticed the smell emanating from the unit was worse than the day before. At 2 p.m. that day, she sent Marcus a text to tell him, "You need to do something about the smell." At 12:15 p.m. that day, Marcus attended a city store and purchased a meat cleaver. At 3:30 p.m, the building manager noticed a burning smell emanating from the unit. She knocked on the unit door and Marcus told her, "I just went out and left my pot of stock on the stove. It must have burnt dry." Later that evening, Marcus had trouble with his oven and so called an emergency electrician. The electrician entered the unit. Marcus said to him words to the effect, "You'll have to excuse the smell. I'm cooking some pig's broth." The electrician thought this was odd, given the time of the year, and described the smell as pungent and putrid, a bit like dog food. He then needed to access the main switchboard to deal with the problem, so he called the building manager. At about 8:15 p.m, the building manager met with Marcus and the electrician in the foyer of the unit complex. Marcus had told the building manager that his hot pot had overflowed and he'd shortened out the power. They proceeded to the main switchboard and then went upstairs to the unit. Marcus opened the door for them to enter the unit. He tried to stop the building manager from entering, saying, "No, you have to give me 7 days' notice." She replied to the effect that she would enter the unit given the electrical fault was a safety issue. It was then she noticed blood and other damage throughout the unit. She took a series of photographs of the damage. Marcus told her the blood on the carpet was from the cut on his hand. It was after this the building manager contacted police and requested they attend the unit. This call was taken by police communications at approximately 9 p.m. that evening. The job was classified as a welfare check. 10 minutes later, police arrive and speak to Marcus outside the front door of the unit. The events which follow were clearly captured by both officers who had activated their body-worn cameras. Marcus convinced the officers that his dogs inside were large and that he needed to put them away before the officers went inside. He then went into his apartment alone. A few moments later, the officers heard metallic sounds coming from the apartment. They thought he was putting the dogs away, but in fact, he'd opened the sliding balcony door and jumped from his ground floor apartment and ran. Police quickly gave chase but lost him in the dark. They returned to his apartment and saw a large black garbage bag inside the washing machine. A large metal pot was located on the kitchen floor with 2 human feet protruding. The officers originally thought it was a sick prank, but then they saw large pools of fresh blood on the kitchen floor and quickly radioed back and declared it a potential homicide and secured the crime scene. 20 minutes later, a police dog and his handler arrived at the scene to find Marcus. Zuma, the police dog, followed the trail of Marcus to an underground car park. It led them to a small garbage room with 2 large industrial bins. As officers opened the bin lid, they saw Marcus lying inside with a significant wound to his neck. He had other injuries to both sides of his throat and his wrists. A 35cm knife was also found inside the bin. Marcus was declared dead at 10:18 p.m.